Well, hi everybody, welcome back to another episode of Missional Mamas. I'm really excited for you to meet our guest today. We are here with Jan Kilpatrick. Welcome, Jan. Thank you so much for coming on. And I wanted to start by, we have started a little tradition on this podcast where we ask one little warm-up question. That is, if your life had a soundtrack, what would the song be playing right now?
Oh, wow. Okay, well, I do love music, and I'm a bit of a disco diva. I'm from that generation. So I love ABBA and Dancing Queen. I think my life is a song and a dance. So that's like one of my soundtracks.
I love that. Oh, that is really so full of joy. I love that.
Sorry, it's not spiritual, but there we go. He speaks through secular music as well as sacred.
Absolutely. Dancing Queen is one of the songs that I dance with to my kids.
Dance
to with my kids. Yeah, it is very fun. So, okay. And why don't I just hand over to you to introduce yourself a little bit, and maybe you could just share about what your background is. Maybe we could just start with that.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, so I am a missionary child. I was born and raised on the mission field by incredible parents who went out many moons ago. I'm the youngest of three. So they went out in the 1960s before I was born on a boat. I know, left everything. I mean, back then people didn't travel, went to Kenya.
Wow.
And we're missionaries there for 14 years. I was born out there and raised. My first 10 years of life was on the mission field.
Wow.
So they loved Jesus. Both my parents have passed away now, but they were real passionate about Jesus. My mum was an incredible intercessor. And I think my love for getting into his presence was how she modelled it to me. Every morning, sitting on the floor, she'd sit with her Bible open and her books and just worship and pray. So I've got that beautiful heritage, which I'm very thankful for. Doesn't mean it was always easy, but there's lots to give thanks for. And then I'm married to an incredible man called Alan, who is Scottish. He was born and raised in Scotland in the Plymouth Brethren, so from a very, and he moved, and his parents left in sort of quite early on in his teens for more of a life-filled, vibrant church. And so again, he has a kind of missional background. His parents used to travel to Italy every year and do missions and outreach there. So we've been married 36 and a half years.
Wow, congratulations.
I know, it is a miracle.
I think every marriage is honestly such a miracle.
It is, I know, because it's hard.
Yes.
It's hard sometimes.
It's hard, yeah.
So and we have four incredible children. So 2 girls, our oldest. Both of them are married and they both have children. So we've got 4 grandkids and one's on the way. And then I have 2 sons who are in their mid-20s, who are single. And they've lived a missional life with us, with me and Alan, and travelled in lots of places around the world. And now at the moment we work for Iris Global. So Alan his background is that he's an ordained Anglican priest. So we had the privilege of leading churches in different parts around the world, which was such an honour. Spirit-filled churches, you know, people who wanted more of the Holy Spirit. So that's our background. And then, we joined Iris, 7 or 8 years ago.
Okay.
We've been running with Heidi for a while. And she asked us to come and be part of the family care team.
Yeah.
So,
beautiful.
I mean, I could go on, but
yeah. Well, we'll dig in deeper, and I'll ask different parts, so we might jump around a bit. But what does your day look like at the moment where you are kind of, you're a counsellor, so maybe
Yes, I am.
you can share a bit about how you got into that, where you are now, and then how that ties into what you do in family care.
Okay. So, being working in church for years, I've always been involved with pastoral care. I was always the buy one get one free because Alan was employed. I was the one that came, and it was never an issue. I loved having the freedom to do what I wanted to do in church.
Yeah.
Loving people. I love people, and I'm passionate about people. I think living on the mission field gives you a real eye-opening to lots of different cultures, different thoughts, different understanding, even different beliefs.
Yeah.
And I love hearing people's stories. I'm passionate about people and seeing people walk in freedom. Yeah. That's really important to me. And so being in pastoral care for 25 years in churches, I kind of thought during COVID, oh, okay, I don't want to sit twiddling my thumbs. I'm not a sit around, I've been doing this, why not get a qualification and get qualified as a counsellor? And it kind of tied into my work already that we were doing in family care, pastoring missionaries and leaders, being a safe place for them to offload, to perhaps have a debrief, process something maybe that was hard for them, or even, be there to celebrate in the highs with them.
Yeah.
So I've always had a job. My job has always been different every day, and I love having the unpredictability in one sense of each day looks different for me. So a lot of my life is on Zoom as a counsellor.
Yeah.
I don't see him because I'm seeing clients from different parts of the world. So it's over Zoom. I do love being in person with people. That's my favourite. But obviously the incredible, technology means that we can meet, across the world like we are today, Becky.
Yeah.
I'm in England, So, that's how I got into kind of becoming a qualified therapist. And, it's never too late to retrain. I think, I love learning. I'm going to be a lifelong learner. I want to remain a lifelong learner.
Yeah.
So,
Amazing. Oh, wow. I love the idea of that unpredictability. And I think, I think sometimes as a mum, like I've got 4 young ones, and so I am sometimes stuck in quite that like rut of I am just doing the same things day in, day out, which is so healthy for my kids. But sometimes I'm going, oh, I just love something, different to happen, except that the different things that happen are often the bad thing, and so I'm going, oh, I don't know that I want to ask for that. I think I want just some real, fun and, different, and working with people is always that, it's always going to be, you never know what's going to happen. You never know who's going to come across your path and what's the need and what's the kind of like what's on their heart, and it's going to be so interesting no matter what. So yes, I love the idea of that. And
I think it's so important, Bex, as you were saying, for yourself to have that creative outlet that is different. Obviously for you this is a creative outlet.
I was from that. I have been actually, just as a side note, I've been thinking a lot about like that creativity, and I personally like have a lot of like that creative kind of thing. I do some art on the side, and when I get a chance, which recently has not been very often, but I was reading someone's blog about how creativity is actually like something that the Lord has given women in a very specific way. And as they're raising their children, there's a lot of creativity that is kind of involved in that. And I was thinking, oh, that's actually so accurate. And when we're not creating, we kind of stagnate and we're quite like, we struggle quite a lot. And so I was just thinking of how can I be a bit more creative within the like not going too far out of I don't have time to go and sit and paint for 4 hours. I don't have time to, this. But how can I, help my daughter with her craft and create something fun? Or how can we, think of a creative way to use our time? So anyway, that's
so beautiful.
My little tiny snippets of creativity here and there. But I love the creativity for that with people and just you being able to bless people at the same time. That's just so beautiful. Can you share a bit about what your you said you've been all over the world. Where have you been serving, and what has that looked like? Were you in any ministry capacity, or was that like your pastoral care kind of thing? What did that look like? And did you have your kids there?
Yes, we did. Yes, so we, as I say, I grew up on the mission field, and then when I was 10, I moved back to the UK.
Okay.
And my dad went into the became a priest and went into ordained ministry. So, but that was a massive transition for me. And I think kind of realizing actually that was very hard coming off the mission field where, back then you didn't really fly out for the summer or, that just wasn't possible.
Yeah.
So it was my home. That was my home. And then being kind of, to me, it was being ripped out of there. It was very difficult to adjust.
Yeah.
Culturally, I was not English in any way, shape or form. I was barefoot running around the garden. I loved being outside. That's one of my biggest joys, is being outside in nature.
Yeah.
And so that was a real hardship. So to kind of set that, when we went on the mission field, I was like, oh Lord, I don't know if that's where I want to go because of my history. It was so hard for me. But over the years, the Lord really tugged our hearts for missions. And when we were newly married, I used to work for an airline industry, and so we'd travel a lot, and we really felt the Lord was calling us to missions, and we were in Rio, and we were just seeing, the poverty and the street kids, and we thought, okay, maybe you're calling us that way. And the Lord kind of led us to go to Bible college, and it was there that the Lord led Alan into the ministry, really, because he was like, oh, you're not going to Rio, you're going to become an ordained minister in the Church of England, which was a bit of a left field. But actually, after we'd been served in London, the Lord then really spoke to us about where our next place was going to be. And he gave us a verse in Isaiah. It was about, you're going to go to the nations, or the nations will come to you. And we kind of threw the net out then, and we then ended up moving to America, to South Carolina, to a big church there.
Wow.
That Alan was an associate. But I had been the whole time in London when our kids, we all had our children in London, that I'd been very involved with ministry there. And, I ran women's groups, mums and toddlers. My kids were little, did Alpha courses, evangelistic courses, it was just, our life was in the church. And that's, we had so many friends. And then we moved to the US, and it was a very different environment. I was at home with the kids and Alan was out at work, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So we moved there, and that was a really difficult time for me because I wasn't so involved. And, it's talking about that creative outlet, which is really important. Yeah. Whatever it looks like. Creativity isn't just painting, drawing, dancing. It can be anything, isn't it?
Yeah.
Journaling, doing podcasting, it can be anything, really. Yeah. So I think because of that, I really struggled a lot. And so after 3 years, we moved back to England, and we pastored a church in Brighton on the south coast for 5 years, which was charismatic, but with seatbelts, kind of, probably the best way to describe it. And I kept saying to the Lord, there must be more than this. There must be more than this. I read it in your word, but we want them all. We want to see we'd pray for healing and we'd pray for prophesy and things, but it was very tame. And the Lord said, okay, I'm going to take you to South Africa.
Wow.
So we then moved with our 4 kids to South Africa and pastored a church there and really saw incredible move of the Spirit. It was just amazing. We had such a learning curve. And I think sometimes in life you have, there's a book by Charles Dickens called A Tale of Two Cities. I mean, it's quite an old classic. And it starts with, it was the best of times and it was the worst of times. And I think sometimes we have that duality of life being like that. It can be really tough, but yet it can be really fruitful. And I think that was our season. It was really hard for our children living in South Africa. So one of them, when you've got 4, you're going to have the spectrum. Some of them love it, the others don't. And it's like, how do you manage the different adjustments? And the Lord really took us on an incredible journey of just trusting him more, believing for the more. And he really turned us around as parents. We weren't the same parents that we had been when we first had them, because you're not. You're always changing, hopefully, and moving, becoming more like him. So we learned a lot there. And then really after 5 years, 3 of our children were really struggling in school. And it was at that, and we felt the Lord say, and this is a funny thing, the Lord said, ministry was going amazingly, and the Lord said to me one day when I was cleaning my teeth, family first. And of course, as a mum her ministry is to her children, I was almost affronted. Lord, of course my family come first. But I suddenly thought, actually, is it my desire to stay here more important than what my children need? And listening to their hearts. And so we made the really difficult decision to move back to the UK. But God has a plan. He set us up for Northern Ireland, which is not at all where we ever dreamed we'd be. And he did incredible stuff there. And he provided for the children. And so we planted a church in Northern Ireland, which was a story in itself. Incredible place called Hope Community, full of the Holy Spirit. And then he called us to go to Mozambique to be with Iris.
Oh my goodness. So you were not joking when you said all over the place, because that is wow. And amazing. Oh my goodness. And what did you do in Mozambique? Were you directly with Iris at that point?
So we went. The Lord told us to leave the church that we'd birthed very clearly. Because it's hard. You've birthed this church and you're carrying the baby. You carried the baby and you birthed it. But the Lord was very clear, and he said, "I'm not going to tell you what the next step is, but you need to trust me." So it was very clear, and we both had very clear words on it. It was a season. It wasn't overnight, the Lord's told us to. It was a process of prayer, fasting, really, getting into the secret place and just being, because I think in a marriage you can often feel one's pulling one way and one's pulling another. And the one thing that we've learned in our marriage is we'll never, ever make a decision until we're both on the same page. Because I think if you get taken somewhere and the other person's not quite there, resentment. The enemy can get in with, well, I didn't want to come here.
Absolutely.
So we've always never made a move until we both hear the Lord clearly in the same direction. And we're not there to try and coerce each other, but it's like, actually, we want the wisdom of God.
Absolutely.
On our situation. And so that's when we left Northern Ireland and we went to do harvest school, which I think you did.
Yes.
So we did it in Mozambique, and Heidi asked us if we would come and look after the families.
Yep.
So there was a lot of young
Oh,
families.
beautiful. What year did you
Which
do
was,
that? That wouldn't have been that long ago.
oh, I can't. We did that in 2016, I think.
Okay, yeah, just a
2016,
couple of years
17.
before we did. Yeah.
Yeah, so it was. I think it was the last. It was the last full harvest school that was in Pemba.
Oh, yeah,
Because
okay.
then
We were the
right.
first traveling one. Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. So we
So we
did the
never made it
second.
to Pemba.
Right, yeah. But and then the Lord called us back to be directors of hospitality in Pemba.
Okay. Yeah, wow.
Um, so we did that for a very short time because of obviously there's a lot of insurgency that was going on there, and it was
Yeah.
very difficult. You couldn't have visitors coming in.
Yeah.
They'd have up to 1,000 a year, I think, previously. But so,
Yeah.
you had to
Huge.
be very careful. So we ended up having to shut that, and then really got more and more involved with family care then when we were
Yeah.
in Mozambique. So
Yeah. Yeah, wow.
yeah,
What an incredible journey. Just wow. I almost have just no words because it's so beautiful the way the Lord. So often, like, our stories kind of go all over the place, and it's only when you look back that you truly see the provision, the faithfulness, the like all of the things lining up and just going, oh, I wouldn't have learnt that if I hadn't walked through that season. I wouldn't have been
absolutely.
able to walk through this season if I hadn't done this previous season. And I, I wouldn't have the character to raise these kids or to birth this church or to like whatever it is if I had
Yeah.
not had to walk through those. And I I feel like most of us, are allergic to suffering and
Mm,
really want to just push it away.
mm.
But I think it's just so helpful to hear, especially from someone as wise as you and has walked through things, that it does all kind of, it's not that it all works out in the end, it's not a like worldly kind of way. It truly is the Lord that He shapes every single step, and that the proverb that it's us that like wants to change how we're going to do things, or we have all our ideas, but it's the Lord that determines our steps.
Yes,
And
yeah. Man makes a plan, but the Lord determines his steps.
yeah,
Oh, I've had so many great plans I've thought that God needed to hear.
absolutely, me too. And I
And
think
he's chuckled and
yes,
said, okay.
yes, absolutely. And it's like humbling. It's really humbling, that process of, oh Lord, that was something I wanted. That was something I really wanted to do, but he does know better. He really does. And even those moments where you're going, why and how and what, but you come through and you can see clearly on the other side so often.
Yeah.
But yeah,
And sometimes you don't see clearly. Sometimes you don't know. I think that's part of the mystery
yeah,
that
that's very true.
we have to sit with.
Yeah,
Is that, Lord, even in my lifetime, even if I don't see, but I'm still
yeah,
believing for, I'm still going to contend for.
yeah. Even
I'm
if
at
he's still
peace with.
good.
Yeah, because he's still good, but I might not see it. But that I have to sit with that. I don't
Mm,
want it.
mm,
I'm gonna be that persistent person in prayer,
yes,
but
yeah,
I'm not gonna be disappointed if it's not in my time,
yeah,
because actually that then I lean away from him and not lean into him.
yeah,
And I
yeah,
want to be faithful in trusting him
yes,
with
yeah,
hearing my heart's cry. And he knows what's best for me. I don't always,
yes,
it's not always the best thing for me or for my children, but I have to
absolutely.
trust him with my kids. And I
Yeah,
think that's one of the biggest battles where the enemy tries to get in as a mom
yeah,
is, can you really? Is he going to do a
mm,
better job than he'll put those. And
yeah,
actually, he has a far better plan for my children than I ever can.
yeah,
And his promises, this is the word. It's
yeah,
true. It's
yeah,
living. And
yeah,
if he says it, I have to say, Lord, you say it, so I know you're
Yeah.
going to do it. Like,
Yeah.
I'm reminding you of your word, Lord. You know, this is your
Yeah.
promise and it's your word. And I've got to just keep going back to the promise,
Yeah.
because what I'm seeing might not be the truth
Yeah.
or the end. You know, it's never the end until he says it's, you know, he always has the final word.
Yeah. That's so true, that like what we're seeing is not necessarily the truth. You know, we might be seeing facts, you know, we might be seeing what's right in front of us, but it's not necessarily the truth. It's not his ending, it's not his final say.
No.
He's the Alpha and Omega. He gets the beginning and the end. He gets the final say. And
Absolutely.
he gets the, you know, he gets the glory in the end.
And the final say is always yes.
Yeah.
You know, it's always not yes to us, but it's his yes to him.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, he's just, I just want more of him. I want more of him in my life so that I shine Jesus better to my children and to my friends. You know, I want to remain hungry and thirsty for him my whole life, so that I'm never satisfied, in a sense. I'm always waking up every morning early, which is what I love to do. I go to bed early and I like to wake up early, and I want my first thought as you know, because it's cold here. And actually, I find my joy is I can't wait to get into the secret place. I put my Christmas lights on, I put worship on, get my coffee and hunker down with him. It's like, that's the best.
Oh, it is. It is the best. Have you always been able to do that? Because that is something
when the kids
struggle
are little.
with so much.
But I love the verse in scripture where he says he carries those with young, doesn't he? He gently leads those with young. And I just think reminding that actually, because again, the enemy wants to say, well, you're not doing enough. Yeah. You know, where's your this? And I think, no, I've never, you know, it's hard when you have to be up early, get the kids, you know, when you've got 4 little ones, I had that. You're running around early. So you don't want to be up at 4 necessarily. I didn't. I loved my sleep's really important. So it's just finding space. And I think it's also finding, actually, it could be in the car. I mean, that was often where I would have my time with Jesus. I had to drive my kids. So that was my quiet time in the car. And now we have, you know, I didn't have it when my kids were little. We didn't have, you know, phones like these. You know, we can put podcasts on. We can put, I love Lectio. Lectio is I love it, you know, and they do Lectio for kids. And you just think, wow, it's kind of easily available now to have even those 20 minutes, just times with Jesus, you know, and I used to cook, you know, I loved, my mum raised me on cooking homemade food. So I always, you know, at 4:30, I'd always be in the kitchen too. And actually the kids would be doing homework or something else or playing. And actually, even cooking, I'd be having a conversation with Jesus, you know, praying for Alan or praying for the kids, or, you know, having a, you know, Lord, help me, you know, they're being so disobedient or they're not listening, you know, what do I do?
Oh, that sounds like my prayers. My toddlers, well, I've got twin toddlers, and they just turned 2 very recently, and it's suddenly, oh my goodness, I don't remember it being this hard with one. Suddenly the screams are in stereo. Surround sound, all parts of the house. But yes, I think often my prayers are like interspersed, and we have like a 30-minute drive to our church, which is there's times when I don't love it. My husband is a pastor at that church, and there's times when I don't love it because it means it's a 30-minute drive for him to get home to us, and I am so desperate some days. but it also means that I get a 30-minute drive. We go there twice a week for church and for play group, like a young mums, like you were saying. And those are some of my favourite drives, because that 30 minutes I just get to put on, you know, it's a decent car ride. And so they have learned to just deal with them being in the car, and I put on the worship and I kind of just zone out and into time with the Lord. And sometimes they have to sort of snap me out of like, Mom, like, I'm asking you a question. I'm going, oh, I forgot you were even here.
That's so beautiful.
You know,
yeah, and I think that's the best way to just take the snippets. I remember reading years ago, I read a book. I love autobiographies and books about people's lives, and I read, golly, I don't know how many years ago, 20 or 25, 30 years ago, a book by Susanna Wesley, John Wesley's wife.
Yeah.
And she was an incredible woman. Perhaps not, you know, you don't, if you read her story, she was this phenomenal woman in her own right in ministry. Yeah. And she had 11 children. 11 children in a tiny home. Back then. And the kids knew when she was having her time with Jesus is that she'd throw her apron over her head.
I have heard this story, and I keep forgetting that it was Susanna Wesley, of course. Yes. And that, like, that was her prayer closet. That it was like, Mum needs her time with the Lord. Oh, yeah. It's, if it wasn't so hot here, I would probably...
Well, I'm not suggesting you put your apron over your head.
But yeah,
that could
beautiful.
Be a health and safety risk, but... But, you know, it's like we can find the time, and I think rather than beating ourselves up with, it wasn't enough, Lord, you know, I think he carries us because he's truth and grace, and often we forget the grace bit. You know, or I mean, I'm not, you know, and I think we can get like, oh, don't err on the side of too much, you know, it's kind of actually his truth and grace. That's what he came. That's what, you know, John 1, it talks about he came in truth and grace. And, you know, we've got, I think the biggest thing I could ever say to, you know, women with young mums is have compassion on yourself. Give yourself compassion. Because actually we're quite hard on ourselves. I know I was. I had high expectations of, I need to be the perfect, you know, the amazing, you know, home-cooked meals. You know, they need to have this full experience, you know, doing this, that and the other. And actually, you just do the best you can. And, you know, some days I would beat myself up. You know, I'd lost my temper with them. I, you know, just run ragged. And I think, oh, you know, I could live with regrets, or I can think I did the best job I knew how with what I knew how. Would I do it differently? Yes, because I'm not the same person then. I am now. I've got probably a lot more patience.
Yes. And probably with more capacity, you kind of, your perspective changes and you go, oh, I would do all of this. Like before having kids, I probably would have thought, oh, I'll do this and this and this and it'll be so easy. I don't actually remember thinking that, but I probably was, you know, somewhat judgmental of others and had all these brilliant ideas, and you don't have enough. And I recently was talking to someone about how you just don't have enough, and that's the point. The point is that we in ourselves have nothing. Like we just are not enough, and it's not that that's okay, like, but it's that he is enough, and that he sustains us, and that he carries us, like he gently carries those with young, and he is the enough when we are so lacking, are so nothing, are so done at the end of ourselves. And that is, I mean, I get to the end of most days and feel like that, or I start the day feeling like that and just don't have nothing to give today. And yet it is the Lord that sustains us. He is enough. And I think what a privilege, because there is so little in life to humble you and teach you that so much as being a mum. That really brings you to the end of yourself every single moment of the day. And I see so many trying to escape that, and trying to like find conveniences or solutions, or you open up Instagram and you just see thing after thing, and my Instagram is so tailored to the fact that I'm a mum. It's embarrassing, but it's all these things that are just tailored to make your mum life easier, make your mum life better, like all these things that will fix whatever it is, whatever thing you have, whether you're toilet training, whether you're dealing with teenagers, yes. Whether, anything, there's someone that's found a solution. And I look at it all and I go, this is so like creative, yes, but ultimately like empty of what we need.
And like confusing.
Yeah,
because you'll have one post saying, oh, don't do this, and then the next thing you'll see a post like, oh, you must do this, and you're like, well, what do I do?
Yeah, I found the beginning of motherhood exactly that, just like, I am so confused by, it wasn't even, I tried to stay off social media for a little while, and because I just was like, I know that I'll get bombarded. Yeah. But it wasn't even social media. It was just everybody. Everyone had their own opinion.
Yes.
Everyone at Mum's Group had an opinion. Every midwife that I would talk to had an opinion. Every nurse that I would take my daughter in to get her weighed because she wasn't weighing enough had an opinion. And that's not what the nurse yesterday said. And that's not, she's not sleeping. So this is, everyone has an opinion.
Yes,
and
they do.
And you will end up going insane. Trying to figure it out, I think, and I probably did. But that it really does come down to just He is what we need. Like, the Lord is enough, and He is He's everything, and
He's in the parenting with you. I think sometimes we can feel, okay, I'm doing it on my own. I'm making a mess of it. Well, I used to think that I'm making a terrible mess of this, and I remember the Lord once said to me really clearly, I was out it was the days when I used to run, and I was out on a run, and I was just processing with the Lord, and I was like, oh Lord, I've lost my temper again, and I've made a mess of it, and I'm sorry, and I yelled, and my kids were teenagers at this time. And the Lord said to me, He said, you're so hard on yourself. And I was like, yes, but I deserve to be hard on myself because I'm making, I've like made a mess. And He said, Jan, when your youngest was sitting in a high chair and you were teaching him to, drink out of a cup, when they moved from the sippy cup to the cup without the lid.
Yes, there's a big mess.
If he spilt the milk, did you scream and shout at him? I was like, no, Lord, I wouldn't dream of doing that. He was learning. He said, Jan, what would you do? I said, well, I'd get the cloth and I'd wipe it up and I'd give him the cup again, maybe with less milk in it. He said, that's what I do with you. If you make a mess, I come with a big cloth and I wipe up the mess and I give you the cup again. Because He's trusted you with these kids. They're His gift. And it spoke so, it indelibly marked me. Thinking, Lord, you're so good. The messes I make, you don't criticize me or hit me or, send me to my room because I've messed up. You're gracious and you're loving and you come alongside, and sometimes you clean up my messes because I've come before you saying, Lord, I've messed up again. I'm sorry. Help me. And it was just that kindness of the Lord that I wasn't giving myself. I think one thing's, in terms of lessons is that be quick to, I've always thought, be quick to our children, be quick to ask for their forgiveness if you've done it, because that teaches them that you're not perfect. You don't know it all. And I used to always invite my children when they were older to speak respectfully into my life, because I did used to lose my temper a lot, and say, Mom, you know, you're shouting. You don't like it when I shout, you know. And I think inviting your children, because I'm like, I want to be corrected. It's not having them criticize you, but being gentle in inviting them into that. Tell me if I'm getting it wrong. Because I want to be showing them Jesus. But I'm human and I get it wrong, and it's as long as I can come before them and say, I'm sorry, look, I'm sorry, I lost my temper, that wasn't, I should have taken time, I should have taken time out.
Someone said to me recently that you shouting at your kids is not what's going to mess them up. It's you shouting and not apologizing and not repairing the relationship. Because they can then see, oh, we are all sinners in need of a gracious God.
Savior.
And I say, especially to my older two, so often that what Mama did was sinful, and I need God's grace just as much as you. And I need your forgiveness today, and I need God's forgiveness. And they are quite, they are so sort of stunned every time, which is funny because it happens a lot, but they kind of have this, you can kind of see these, they're 4 and 6, so it's little, but you can kind of see that, those little dots joining. And then we talk about it when they mess up. They're like, oh, do you remember, I also was angry the other day and it wasn't fun, and it's just so helpful to kind of put it in a perspective of that we're people, but I think that mums in particular, you're right, and I don't think we like to talk about it, to be completely honest. And I don't think that I realized it until pretty recently, that I just hold myself to quite a high standard and didn't realize that was unhealthy. Kind of saying oh, but that's God's standards. And, being called out on it, it's it's what I've put on myself. It's actually what maybe the world has put on myself. It's not really what God has put on me, because if it was what God has put on me, it's not a heavy burden.
No, that's right.
And so, it's really hard to have that tension, right? You want the grace, but not to let it just slip because you're so full of that, taking advantage. Let us not use grace to allow us to sin more, but let's let it spur us on to be encouraged. And so much wisdom from you, thank you. I wonder what you could share for families that are going through challenge, and whether it's challenges with their kids or challenge in their marriage or challenge in missions or ministry or whatever it is. I wonder if you could share what your best tips for kind of supporting your family and I guess creating a healthy family environment in those times, because I think, when things are going well, it's hard, but it's easier. But I think when things are going not well, it can just be so much harder to have any sense of what's you're so much harder on yourself, but you're also just going, I don't even have the ability to like function, I'm just in survival. How can you maintain that kind of good family life and stability when you're in survival?
Wow. Yes, that's a big, I mean, wow. Every situation obviously unique. I mean, as you said at the beginning, suffering is part of life. And I
Yeah.
think we have to learn to embrace it. That's a difficult
Yeah.
word to say, but we often don't want to have a theology of suffering because we're like, no, the Lord, and it's actually important to understand that it's part and parcel of life.
Yeah.
And I think for me, it's remembering this too shall end. It will come to an end, whatever situation, however hard. And I mean, Alan and I have done, even in our marriage, we've had some really, really tough moments, some years where I just was like, I don't know how we're going to survive as a couple.
Yeah.
When our kids, it's horrible when you see your kids struggling, when there's bullying or they have, there's neurodiverse issues or whatever that's going on, or there's complexities in learning or whatever. It's so painful as a mom to see that happen. And you want God just to come and to manifest and to heal, and he can.
Yeah.
But sometimes he doesn't. And it's prayer, pray. Stay close to him. I think my seasons in South Africa, I just had this beautiful, once the kids had gone to school, I'd go to the gym, and then I'd come home and I'd have a few hours, and I would sit and journal in my garden. And there was constantly things. The kids were bullied, one ended up not going to school for a long time, and there was no understanding, and I had no support, and I used to just cry my heart out to God. But he would always meet me, and he would always surprise me. And I think if you're going through something as a family, is have honest conversations. Be honest, be as vulnerable as you can be. In this is hard, but we'll get through it. We'd always sit down at the table and have our meal together. That was a non-negotiable. So for us, that was the time and space to, I mean, it didn't always, ideally we'd have, loved to have been this perfect little family sitting down, sharing our day. One might be I'm not eating this. Oh, it's not that again, screaming, whatever. But the consistency, doing something consistently.
Yeah.
Because in the chaos, you need to have your anchor and your foundation. And I think obviously it's him, but it's also the consistency of doing the same thing, having the normalcy of maybe a meal around the table. Even when there's, I think that can anchor us, having that kind of consistent practice of something, prayers together, I don't know, whatever it is, because it might, and even if you don't feel anything, keep doing it. I think, as I say, the structure of having meals around the table, sometimes you think, oh, this is just so hard, let's just, but it's that consistent practice that really helped us to have those moments that are like gold, where you can have those really deep, intimate connections as a family. I think communication, I find within counselling, that's often the thing that people have. It's a skill that we're not really taught. They don't teach it you at school. They should do, good communication. And I think people fear, and whatever holds us back, should the kids know too much about what's going, what, and obviously there's wisdom in that, what you share. But also I think inviting the children into what's going on and not shielding them from everything. Because actually people used to say to me, oh, I just want my kids' happiness. When they grow up, I want them to be happy. And I used to think, I don't want because happiness is around happenings.
Mm.
And happenings, those joyful happenings happen in my life. You know, they happen, but they're not, I can't live my life just on that.
Yeah.
I want to have resiliency. I want my children to be able to have tools that when the storms come, they have tools to fight the battles or to stand firm.
Yeah.
You know, to know the scripture, to be able to lean on, they're not on their own understanding, but to lean on him, and to have tools to be equipped. So I think shielding children too much from things, they don't grow up with being resilient. And I want my children to be resilient, because things will happen. You can't protect them when they're out the house. You know, it's scary. It's a big world out there.
Yeah,
you know?
Absolutely. Yeah. This is a big lesson that moms have to learn. And it goes against that, like, nurturing instinct, right? Like, we want to protect and shield them, and that's a good instinct. But it can be damaging when you don't, like, if a mother bird doesn't ever let her baby bird try and fly without the mum, it will die, because it cannot go and get its own food, and it can no longer rely on its mum for food when it gets bigger. And so it's just, you know, if you try to constantly protect and constantly nurture beyond the part where they need to learn, and that balance, it's that tension that I think, I mean, it's the Christian walk is that tension, the motherhood is that tension. Finding that line and walking that line is just so difficult. But it's so important to learn.
It is. And you want to set your kids up for success. You know, what you're teaching them now isn't just for now, it's for longevity. It's what they're going to take into, you know, and kids do, when they leave home, they like push against what they've had. But, you know, it's trusting the Lord that those seeds have landed and been deposited and will flourish, even if you don't see it when they've left home and they go through their own, you know, struggles and doubts. And it's just trusting him that his word says it, he's going to do it.
Yeah. It's hard, but I think my favorite part about interviewing any mum that has adult kids and talking to my mum, like, is that they're always saying it's worth it, you know. And that's like the most beautiful thing to hear, like, it's worth it. And remembering, like, don't grow weary and give up and lose heart, because in the proper time you will reap the reward for, you know, for what you've done. And I think that is just hard but worth it, you know. And it's worth it to do it with him. And I don't know if there's any way I could do it without him. There really isn't, and it's not. I think, I mean, that's not worth it, really.
No, because you're doing it in your own strength, and the Lord's like, how's that working out? I'm like, not very good.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
I've done it many times. I've got a really good idea, Jesus. Can we just try my way? And he's like, well, we can.
Like, sure, we can. It's going to be terrible.
Let's see how that works.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, yeah. One last thing that I wanted to ask, with your background in like family care, and I know there's lots of people serving around the world that are mums and that have, you know, maybe are with an organization or are just serving in a church, that they don't have the resources necessarily. My story is a bit like that. Well, not my personal one, but my mum. I grew up as a missionary kid as well. And my mum had very complex mental health struggles when I was a teenager that were like, there were just no resources, you know. And it was also in the days before mental health was like
Yeah.
quite acknowledged. And I just wonder, with your background, what advice you can give for mums to pursue that mental health, whether they're in ministry or on the field or just being a mum and or working, but when life is busy and when things are probably quite overwhelming, what are some little ways? Obviously, I think, seeking some professional counselling and some help is obviously at the top of that list. But if things are not available necessarily through certain seasons, what can people be kind of pursuing that's really, I guess, also like biblical and that the Lord kind of has highlighted for you over the years?
I mean, that's a big question.
Sorry.
Over a big so no, but it's useful. And I think one thing, there are so many resources free and available.
Yeah.
There are so many podcasts out there, mental health wise. Dr. Caroline Leaf, she's a you've heard of her. She's a Christian neuroscience therapist. She has amazing stuff. Lots of different podcasts out there. There's lots of books to get your hands on. Rewiring Your Brain, that's a Caroline Leaf one. I've read. My husband read when he had depression. I think, as hard as it is, whatever you're going through, don't try and overwhelm yourself with trying to sort yourself out. Number one, have compassion. Number two, have some outlet of creativity. Whether it's taking time out for yourself, doing something you like, having a bath. It might be just the simplicity of taking a bath, without the kids around, or journaling. I'm a big journaler. I've journaled, and some people don't like journaling, and that's okay. You draw, you can draw what's going on. Drawing is so healthy, and it's actually a great way for teaching kids how to navigate their emotions and feelings, Obviously getting into the Word, but even if you can't read the Bible, sometimes I know if you're in the deepest, it's like, Lord, I can't listen to like Lectio or something that's, the Bible on audio. Because even if you can't connect, you're having scripture. And, scripture says, take every thought captive. I think often what I find within client work is that actually we're believing a lie. So often stuff that we have is an issue. And often that lie can get seeded and become a core belief about ourselves or about the world.
Absolutely, yeah.
And it's looking at simplicity, kind of tooling yourself up to be your own therapist in a way, is, looking at actually your thoughts and your feelings are not always the truth. And I think so often, because they're so big, our emotions and our feelings can be so overwhelming that to us it's like, well, it's telling me that this is the truth. Run, fight, flight, or flee, just do something, because again, that can be learnt behavior from a childhood or from a traumatic experience, but it's not always the truth. So I think sometimes it's taking the presence of mind to have, what's going on? What's the truth around this, Lord? What are you showing me? Because we all have to that's why the importance of tilling the soil of our heart, search me, O Lord. Find if there's anything within me, is actually, what am I believing? And recently I walked exactly through this. I was believing a lie that I could help one of my children. I was like, Lord, tell me what I need to do. Do I need to pray more? Do I need to fast more? And I was almost like, show me the bar and I'll jump that height, because I want breakthrough. And I remember I went on a Zoom call, again, have wise counsel around you, people who are, not Job's comforters, but wise counsel. you know, and I think that's so important. People are going to journey with you through the process. Is that I believe this lie that I thought I could do it. And somebody said to me, you've kind of put yourself in his spot. And I was like, oh, how very rude. And then over time I thought, Collie, this is about conditions. What do I need to do, Lord, in order for you to then... And the Lord's like, I don't work that way.
Yeah.
And actually it totally took... Whew, I just have to trust. I have to trust him with the situation.
Which is almost harder.
Yeah, because I like to do. I'm like, tell me how many days to fast.
Yeah.
Tell me
Absolutely.
how many prayers to pray.
We want a formula. We want
Yeah.
a, like, do this and you will get your outcome, you know. Like, we want a personal trainer kind of outlines, you know, this is the result you're looking for, then you do this, 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 and this. And you're right, like, God just does not work that way.
No, and I think being curious around what's going on in yourself opens the conversation to, oh, that's interesting. I reacted that way. Why did I react that way? What's going on? You know, what's happening for me?
Yeah.
How can I respond? I think we're so quick to react because our body tells us something's going on, or our mind's telling us we're not enough, or how silly we are, or what, that was a stupid thing. You know, it's like, actually, hold on a minute. What am I believing? You know, I want my spirit to lead my mind and my body.
Yes.
You know, I want to grow my spirit. And how do I grow my spirit to know the truth? So I don't know how helpful that is, but it's kind of a lot of things thrown out
helpful. There. Thank you. Wow. I think, I cannot say how helpful that is, because it truly is. And I wish I had some of this before I became a mum, or before I went on the field as a mum, or before I had 4 kids, you know, and I think at just any point it is just so helpful, and it's helpful to me, and I know that it's helpful to others. So thank you for so much, like, wisdom, and just being open and vulnerable, and sharing your story, and sharing how the Lord has worked so beautifully in you, and the ways that he has just had you on such an incredible journey, and given you that love for people, and you can just feel it, that you truly just love his people and the person that's in front of you, and you just radiate his beautiful glory. So thank you so much.
It's a pleasure, Bex. Pleasure.
Well, I want to respect your time and let you get on with your day, but thank you again for being on. And is there any, like, if people want to get in touch, is that possible? Is that...
Yes, they can do. I can. What's the best way to give you? My email address is the best way to connect with me.
Yeah, sure. I can pop that in the description if that's is there anything else that you wanted to say?
Pat yourself on the back every night and say, they're alive. I'm doing a good job. They're still alive. All 4 of them are still alive. And it's a good day. Nobody's died.
We got through to the end of the day. Yeah.
The little wins. The little wins.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like that's sometimes a big win, but yes.
Yes, exactly. They're all alive. Hallelujah. And so am I. Yeah. And so is my husband and the dog and the cat.
Yeah. Oh, praise God. Well, thank you again. And I really I hope everyone listening has had as wonderful time as I have, because it's just been such a pleasure and a privilege to interview Jan and hear some of her story. And I really hope that I know people are going to get something out of this, but I pray that it is just like tenfolded. So Bless you, everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you.